Duermi en mi jardín, camine into my dreams. Catch the farthest apple from the tree, bite in, get blind in. The weakest link shines as bright as lightning.
And she tried to brush the naps out, press hard against my scalp like she tried to brush the black out. All that was left to be said was a red forehead, tears shed, self-esteem that's dead.
Show your strength like a gymnast, and if you have to, mix it up like a chemist. Just make sure your goals are no limit.
I was born to be a singer. I believe I was born to entertain and to communicate messages and make the world better in some kind of way.
Now I can tell my story through raps as well, you know what I mean? So, and just have a voice, and I always had that dream being small of being the voice of the voiceless. My life, my childhood was very eventful. A lot of vivid memories go anywhere from having guns pointed at our heads with my father in a car when I was 7, 8 years old when terrorist groups were trying to flee the police and they just stopped our car. We were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Other times where me and my mom were this close from getting exploded by 2 bombs and like just the general atmosphere you would get in a war-torn country. Life was becoming unbearable in the country and at the same, like, we needed safety, we needed security, we needed opportunity to grow and have a future, but at the same time, I'm very attached to my people. I'm very attached to my family back home and my friends at that time. So it was a serious like feeling of being torn apart completely between trying to fight for a future, but at the same time dissociate from your roots.
I'm a survivor of domestic violence, so I like to advocate towards other women. I like to discuss it. I don't want to sweep under the rug. I want to have a discussion.
And I'm so much in between all of these things, being both African, Native American, being very much politicized, you know, growing up in a Muslim environment, I'm clear about being from the floorboards, beneath the floorboards of America.
We just having some love. We need to break my book.
But it's strange because I normally don't feel like I'm so much a part of the general story, the thread of American fiber. It's always a struggle when the mainstream media does not paint the portrait of beauty is not natural hair, is not brown skin. That's always going to be a struggle. You still know what is considered to be beautiful in this culture, and you know that it's not you.
I grew up with my mom in a single-family house during the Civil War, or the Black Decade of the Algerian history. So the 90s were this very intense bloodshed going on, and that's what I grew up in, and that's why we had to find a way to flee the country. But the most vivid thing is how my mom was an outlier. She was really a warrior. And made everything happen in a man's world, despite all odds, you know, against all odds, sorry. So that's what I remember the most, is just the strength of my mom through it all.
What to my mother, the heart is the land, the one place that no man can be.
I think hip-hop is what helped me to appreciate my hair more than any doctrine or anything else. It was seeing Lauryn Hill with her hair natural and being accepted and being the #1 song in the country. It really was hip-hop, you know, that made me feel like that's fly. Okay, I can be natural, I can be fly. People like, you know, I can be accepted just being me. I stay out of Muslim circles. I have Muslim friends that I grew up with, but they're normally not really, it's not the artistic circles that I'm in. I think growing up, I was made very aware that it was not, that being a Muslim woman, that it was not celebrated for me. Women are not supposed to be in a public environment entertaining men. That was like the whole thing.
As a girl, I'm not allowed to sing, let alone rap. You know, it's haram. That's the background that I came from. And that made me question a lot of things about religion. And I went back and forth with it. I fell out of it. I don't know how to explain it to you, but when you come from the type of environment that I came in, where there was fundamentalism at play, where it was like a very extreme, particular scenario, which is not your typical lifestyle as a Muslim country, but now we were in a war against radicals, it made me kind of even dissociate from it completely at one point. And it's only later that like I started making my own personal return towards the teachings and the wisdom that comes with it.
I do face a lot of discrimination because within this music genre and even within our culture and way of life, it's always an issue between Arab, non-Arab. It's an issue. We have a lot of gender bias, a lot of racial bias. So it'd be, you know, a lot of the Arab artists, you know, no one really says anything about what they do per se, but and especially the men. But when the women take a stance and the women do something, it's like, oh, that's haram, you know, you are a disgrace to Islam, you know, oh boy, you're hip-hopping to the hellfire.
I can honestly say that I do no longer feel like I should be in a religious box anymore. And my personal growth right now, my own perspectives from the different experiences that I had from an extreme world to a moderate world to a very open world, within the Muslim community and outside of the Muslim community, has made me feel like I don't want to limit myself anymore, because I do find inspiration and wisdom in many different teachings from different schools of thoughts, and it's all about finding my own balance within it. Islam is a very strong piece of my identity, but it's not my full identity, and I am not an ambassador for Muslim women, because I am not your average type of woman, period.
I think I'm also getting to that point as a human where I'm really trying to figure out how to go directly to the source of my purpose of existing.
I'm trying to get out of quote unquote Muslim music and make something for everybody. And now, you know, some people, they really don't know how to embrace that. I'm done being a poster girl for Islam. I don't want that on my shoulders anymore. I don't know if time changed or y'all greedier. So many lost souls on social media. How this song out talking about killing dudes. Martin and Malcolm, they are so mad with you.
I am not the representative of Muslim women everywhere, but I am a representative of a human being that's seeking their own truth.
I'm good with God. Me and God are so good. We are so good. And so I just deal with it like that. I know that my music, it can be sensual because I'm a sensual being. I was born a sensual being, but it's also very spiritual. It's weird as an artist, you're like an open book, but then not. You know, you write about things all the time that are personal, but then I feel like I talk so much about myself, and then it's hard to dig deeper.
I go back and forth. Sometimes I quit and I stop, and sometimes I keep going. Everyone's always going to judge. People are always going to have something to say, and I can't pay attention to that.
I used to have a lot of problems with articulation and diction in general. The lack of vocabulary, of course, and just not having the same cultural background where I don't know certain expressions. I don't understand the impact of certain metaphors, and so yes, it was a very big learning curve, but I definitely give most credits to hip-hop because it helped me bridge that gap.
I write all over my walls, like, which is why I have to live alone, because I would wake up in the middle of the night and just start writing on the walls, like ideas or just goals. I'm learning not to censor myself so much to make people feel better, because you, as an artist and a poet, like, it's just your job to just be that channel. So when something comes, you're inspired, in spirit, inspiration comes through you, to like just let it be without judging it so harshly. I think I can MC and I can, I'm a good artist, but I'm always like, I'm not as good as I'm gonna be. Like 10 years from now, I'm gonna be a whole nother me. I'm constantly like always challenging myself to sharpen my pen and get better, be more creative, think outside the box.